have not been yet budgeted from our real estate taxes, local receipts, and state aid and other funds. A total of $397,692. Some of that money is the result of the local aid number being raised by about $109,000 after we had our June budget town meeting. The rest of it is coming out of the town government budget with the intention of funding snow and ice. That was the original intention, and that's unspent money in the town budget. The town budget was voted at 3% below last year's number. The second item, the stabilization fund. Normally we don't tap that for operating expenses. However, in the April town meeting, we put into the stabilization fund $250,000, and we notified town meeting at that time that we would be asking to remove that from the stabilization fund in October. We did that because we were concerned that if we left it as a surplus at the end of the year, that there was a potential that it might not be certified as free cash. The big surprise was that at the end of the year, free cash totaled $859,000, $836. This is money that we did not anticipate, and it's a direct result of the efforts of our town collector and assessor and the finance department in terms of accelerating payments and issuing bills that for various things that should have been billed and perhaps were not. So they should be congratulated, for their efforts in helping with the free cash. There were also some turnbacks in some of the budgets. Sale of town-owned land. This is money left over from the Eisenhower purchase. The original sale was supposed to cover the entire Eisenhower purchase. It didn't. We had to bond for settlements, but we left some money in that account from the original purchase to deal with legal services. What happened was we were able to settle most of those accounts without using all the money that we had reserved. So our intent here is to utilize that money in a coming item. Water Stabilization Fund, this is money in the Water Stabilization Fund that we need to offset some deficit in the water budget. And Ambulance Reserve, we'll talk about that later, to fund a request of the fire department. So in Article 4, the items that we're talking about, line item 29 is to add to the health insurance $157,000 from the stabilization fund. And by the way, that will require a 2/3 vote. The reason why we're adding to this budget is for twofold. One is that we had 10 retirements last year, and retirees are entitled to health insurance. And obviously, and these are in the school department, those teachers that retired were replaced and have elected for health insurance. DPW salaries. We underfunded that. As you're aware, Mr. Hamlin has given notice of retirement, and he stayed on for a little longer period. As a result, we did not put into the budget enough money to cover that. We're going to take that out of raise and appropriate. And then library salaries, we underfunded that by $10,000, and we're going to raise and appropriate that in this article. Thank you.
If I could, I'd like to have town council rule on or ruling on the amendment.
Darren Klein, open the debate through the moderator. In my opinion, I would agree with the decision of the moderator. Simply looking at the article and the specific language, I would also rule that the motion was outside the scope because of the words as follows that appear in the article and then listing the 3 specific line items. In my opinion, that was, from looking at the article, that was the intent of the Board of Selectmen and for somebody sitting at home looking at the article, not the description, it would have been hard to imagine that any of the amendment could come in at town meeting to amend other lines.
Thank you. Mr. Dardino.
Philip Dardino, 16 Ridgeway Road. Mr. Moderator, with all due respect, I think your analysis of that section is incorrect. All right? The people of North Reading have been communicated to and told that this is an open section. Okay? I would say that the description is the selectmen telling you what that section means. Now, your analysis is that there's an error in this document. Okay? Why is the error in the description? The description is approved by the town. The town issued the description. And I think the description is what the warrant's all about. And in fact, it's the warrant that has the error. I ask that we consider why that. I cannot believe that any court would support the idea that the town has the right to tell people what a warrant means and then pull that back without respect to the information we give our voters.
Mr. Jeremy.
First of all, my congratulations to you, sir, for making what had to have been a very difficult decision.
You don't even know.
I think you're correct. I hate to say that. I would like to have seen the amendment allowed on the floor. But I believe that you are correct in your interpretation of the law. It also distresses me that town meeting was denied, very specifically denied, the opportunity to address this question tonight. But I have a specific question about line 58 and the library budget. Is our library budget sufficient to maintain the state support that comes to libraries?
Mr. Messeri.
Even with this addition, the library is shot around, I think it's $9,300, $9,800. And the plan was to petition the legislature, petition the Mass Board of Libraries for a waiver for this year. Thank you, Brian.
It would seem to me that there were enough revenues described in the previous slide. If an amendment would be in order to increase the library budget, I should like to do that. Could I ask if it would be considered in order?
I would rule it out of order. Again, the article is specific. That is my rule. The article defines the scope, the quote-unquote four corners. Wait a moment.
I would just like to speak in a little bit on what Mr. Dardino said. As a citizen in town, if I get my warrant, they're telling me what we're going to act on, and whether it be a description
outcome, only the process.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is,
So if town meeting votes a budget out of balance, I'm not trying to pass a buck. I have spent hours and hours and hours on this issue.
no, I like to see on this one.
I've had a lot of people. Mr. Rowe, I'm speaking. I'll get you, please.
I have a point of order, though.
Mr. Rowe, on your point of order.
You made a ruling. We're discussing an amendment that has been ruled out of order. Why are we discussing something that's already been ruled on? We should be talking about these specific items only.
Thank you very much.
Can I ask for any more appropriate?
Because I have, Ms. Mullin, I'd like to respond to the point of order. He's correct if I want to do a strict interpretation, but I'd like to respond to their questions, and that's my prerogative to do so, is it not? To town council? May I not respond to them?
I was just going to say, the more appropriate to wait till after they vote on it, and then they vote on this article again, so I can make the amendment again. I could do it that way, it's easier. So we can talk about it again. But
I'm not, as much as I might like to, as much as it might save money if we didn't have a special town meeting, as much as it might open up other budgeted line items, et cetera, I'm not going to change the rule.
Thank you.
Ma'am?
Kathy Buston, 1 Colonial Hill Drive. I have a question that goes to the slide before this one. I'm concerned about how in April we put the $250,000 into the stabilization fund, and I would like to know which article of the warrant includes acting on in that particular way. Because I see a lot of numbers, and I'm looking to see where we transfer $250,000 to the school budget, and I don't see it.
I'm not sure I fully understood your
Just one
question.
second.
In April, we transferred $250,000 into the stabilization fund in anticipation in October that we would need to take that $250,000 out and put it in the school budget. That was my understanding.
Okay, I understand now. The school budget, when we left town meeting in June, we had an unbalanced budget. But we passed the unbalanced budget, and we have funds under raise and appropriate to fund that budget. That budget's funded without needing the $250,000 from the stabilization.
Can you review again the additional incomes or sources of funds which allow us to no longer need to take out $250,000 from the stabilization fund for education? In April, the town said, we're putting money into the stabilization fund, and we're going to need it in October. And I don't understand what happened with that. I see other money coming out of the stabilization fund, and I'm not sure how the stabilization fund is being managed.
Mr. Balakonis.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, ladies and gentlemen. Those who were present back in June, there was a specific motion made on the $296,000 for the schools to raise and appropriate those funds. There was no further action on that $296,000 that was voted for the school department necessary here this evening. So if you look at the slide that Mr. Messeri has provided, and you look at the first amount of $397,692, of that total,